This is the Life's Journey with Best Friends podcast. Listen as two best friends for over 40 years share our experiences, insights, and unique stories. Hi, BFFers. We talk a lot about aging ungracefully on our podcast and are always looking at ways to improve our overall health.
One of the ways to do that is to purchase quality products that are high in nutrition.
Natural Food Exchange is passionate about providing you with the highest quality, natural, and organic products. They are dedicated to promoting a healthy lifestyle through a carefully curated selection of nutritious foods, supplements, and wellness products.
Check out Natural Food Exchange in person at 39 Pleasant Street, Unit 1A in Stoneham, or visit their website, naturalfoodexchange.com.
Get 15% off of your order when you use the code BFF15 or use the QR code on our website at www.lifesjourneywithbestfriends.com. Welcome to another episode of Life's Journey with Best Friends. I am Noelle.
I'm Diana.
And we have a really special guest today on our show. So her name is Kim Muench, and she's a parent coach who, through her own personal parenting challenges, has identified ways that parents can strengthen their relationship with their emerging adults. Those are the little that are like 18 or older. So while also encouraging them to be independent.
She has been featured on Fox, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Kim has a huge following on social media and is the author of Becoming Me While Raising You, A Mother's Journey to Herself. We are thrilled to welcome Kim to the podcast. Welcome, Kim.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my God, it's so weird to see you in not a TikTok.
I know.
Celebrity. I actually moved and I just actually finished filming a TikTok.
Oh, did you? Yes, we're so excited for you to be here. It's like you're a celebrity amongst us. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm just glad that the videos have been helpful for you.
Yeah.
And happy to have this conversation with you today, ladies.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So just a little bit of my background. I have 4 children and a grandchild. My children age from 2 of them are 29, 1 is 25, and 1 just turned 22. My grandson is 4. I am considered an empty nester. However, 2 of my kids kind of float back, back at home. But I'm very close to them. We talk every day just about, and, they're still coming to me for mom advice. So whatever they take, they take. So Diana, tell her a little bit about yourself.
So I have 4 children as well. My oldest just turned 30, who is married with 2 kids. I have a daughter, 25. I have a son, 22, and another son, 19. And like Noelle, I don't know, I might be too hands-on. I follow you, like I said. I have Life 360 for the one that goes to school in Alabama, but he knows about it. All my kids that are on Life 360 know about it. But, I'm anxious to get feedback, and so I can help myself, help my children be adults and not rely on me as much, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to cut that cord.
Right, exactly. So I kind of would like to know, and for you to also to find out for our listeners or let them know, tell us about how, your personal story with your adult children and how you got into coaching parents and, with emerging adults. How did that come about?
Well, it was the magic of TikTok is the short answer, but there's a longer answer to that, right? I have 5, and my oldest son is 37. And then I have sons also that are 31, 26, 21, and a daughter that's 19. It was the journey with my eldest son, who I had at the age of 18, who then fell into an addiction to alcohol because of his mental health issues at the age of 20. So he was struggling with depression and OCD and medicating with high amounts of alcohol. So that had been going on from 15 until I finally got my head buried out of the sand at 20. So definitely had some denial going on. And I don't know if that would have changed anything, but I do know that I was in denial for sure.
Mhm.
So how I got into this is the journey with my son Nick through his alcoholism and getting into recovery really caused me to do two things. One, it was a parenting wake up call. It really, I knew I had four other kids behind him that I was going to have to carry through adolescence, and I really wanted to do better than I was doing. I parented a lot like my parents did because you defer
That's
to
what
what
we
you
know, right?
yeah, right. You defer to what you know unless you
Right.
really make a conscious effort to look back. And this is part of what I did while I was walking this journey with him, was not only was it my parenting wake up call, but it was my personal awakening and really looking at the way that I had been parented, how it was working or not working with my own parenting and wanting to do better. So I went back to college to finish the psychology degree that I started at 18 and left college to have the baby. So I went back and really wanted to. My thought was, listen, the reason I walked with this kid through his addiction to alcohol was so that I could help other teenagers. So I graduated college. I passed the state of Texas exam to become a licensed chemical dependency counselor. Along that route, you have to do 4,000 internship hours. About 1,000 hours into that, I decided working with teenagers who didn't think they had a problem was not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But part of my job was to do a support group for those parents whose kids were in the treatment center once a week. And I really enjoyed talking to those parents. So through the magic of Facebook, I heard about something called parent coaching. And this was 2016 or probably 2015. And I was like, wow, I love being a parent. You can actually coach other parents. How cool is that? So I
Right.
investigated a couple of different programs, ended up going with the Jaya Institute for Parenting, went through their program in 2016, graduated, and I always worked with parents of adolescents. So my kids at that point were like middle school into their 20s, but I really focused initially on working with middle school and high school parents. Okay. And that was where I was headed, and that was what I was doing. And I was using Facebook, and I wasn't on Instagram, but I was using Facebook, and I was speaking in our local schools a lot. None of that was getting me in front of a lot of parents.
Right.
And in 2020, I mean, it was very frustrating, very, because I knew that people needed help,
Right.
but they weren't willing to, like, they're not willing to talk about it. So bottom line, someone said to me, Kim, you're so good on video, why don't you try TikTok? And I was like, I did not know much about what TikTok was. I just thought it was a place where people danced or whatever,
Right.
right? I was
Yeah.
Right.
2020 a little bit. and
Right.
and they said, but they instructed me, like, you need to share your story before you ever go into trying to sell them things or educate. You need to share who you are.
Right.
So for the first like 20 videos that I did, it was all about sharing my story. And my aim was to connect with parents of teenagers and help them before there was a crisis situation. But what kept coming back to me were parents of 18 to 25-year-olds who were struggling, like it in 2008, when I was going through this with my son, I am now the coach that I really needed in 2008.
Okay.
Right.
However, it didn't come by, like, that really happened by the people that were attracted to me. And I never in my life thought I would be coaching parents of 18 to 25 or 30-year-olds. It really depends. I mean, sometimes the oldest parent kid of a parent I've worked with is 35.
Okay.
So, it's never too late.
No.
No.
Yeah.
And that was maybe a longer answer than you wanted, but bottom line, it really was social media and what kept coming back at me that has helped me develop this niche. And I really do only work with parents of, 18 and older who are struggling to set boundaries, communicate, rebuild relationships.
Mhm.
That's really what I focus on.
Sure, because it's always a running joke, oh, the kids in the basement, 40 years old, 30 years
Right.
old, they're playing video games. How do I get them out of the house? So it doesn't matter really that age. I think it depends because each child is different. So yeah, no, I think that's great. It's a long journey. It sounds like a long journey, but it sounds like you found what you're really good at and what you were meant to do.
I
Yeah,
feel like I'm doing my purpose work here. I really
Great.
do. I do feel that way. And I think people are willing to come to me in part because of the being transparent about my own parenting struggles.
Yep.
And they appreciate that I also am very much will call them out on their shit. Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, like they appreciate that, and some parents know what they need to do, they just can't seem to get themselves to do it. And so I'm kind of the accountability person and the one that just helps them see, you know, I'm impartial, I'm not emotionally attached to your
right,
family.
right.
Yeah.
I try and see both sides of it. I really do try and see the emerging adult side to things as well. Like I very much want to appreciate both sides and know there's two sides to every story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
great.
think you make a great point that it's almost like you need permission to push your children a little bit because there's a guilt behind forcing them out into certain situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I actually I did a session last night with a mom, and she really at the end of it, I said, "What did you get out of this?" She said, "You know, I think I just came here looking for permission to say
Right.
that
Yeah.
I've done everything that I could possibly do." You know, and I said, "You need to stop abandoning yourself because your son is treating you like a doormat."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
mean, I think sometimes just hearing somebody who's not within the family or not a friend, someone who is like, again, not emotionally attached, but just saying like, look, based on what you're telling me,
Right.
you need to just lay down some hard boundaries and move along.
Sure.
yeah,
Because as a mom, I definitely think sometimes I overreact because I am so emotionally involved in it. And it is nice for someone like you to give me that validation of like, okay, I'm not out of my damn mind. I really need to take this next step and I'm not being unfair. I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
right. And we're always worried we're not going to be a good mom, right? If we want to help our kids and tell them what to do, but it's our guilt that makes us feel, oh, are they gonna still love me if I am hard lined with them a little bit? Or,
Right.
for me that I mean, I just want to do the right thing by them.
Well, and I've talked about this in videos. There was a time when Nick was in his deepest, darkest addiction phase, active addiction. And I realized I was not in control, and what he was choosing to do, I could not, nor I wasn't getting him help fast enough and whatever, like it was out of my control. And I woke up one morning with the knowledge that I don't know why Nick's here in the world, and I don't know what he might need to go through and grow through. I can only love him and encourage him where he's at and not do anything that directly enables his self-harm because he was on a self-destructive path, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I cannot give him money that for his quote unquote bill that I know would really just go to alcohol. Like I cannot bail him out of jail when even if he doesn't remember because he was in a blackout, he doesn't remember why he got there or how he got there. Twice I did not, and that was really one of the most difficult things
I
I'm
I
sure it
can't
was.
even
did.
imagine. Yeah. Right.
The
Yeah, it was,
mom
but
guilt.
he'll say to this day, he will say to this day, Mom, part of the reason that I'm 14 years sober is because you did not bail me out of jail.
See, you did the right thing,
Wow.
even though it made you feel guilty.
Well, it made me feel terrible for him, but I actually, on some level, felt he was safer to himself and others in jail, which is a terrible thing to say about your child. But
No,
I
I
just
get that.
really, I've carried that feeling all the way through with my other kids as well, in terms of like, I don't know why they're here. I don't know what they're meant to go through. Nobody wants to watch their kid go through something difficult. But when I think back in my own mind, when I was 18 years old and pregnant, and my dad said, you need to get out of here, and I had to apply for welfare and figure it out, like that was a time of real growth for me. It could have gone any way, right? I could have become a drunk myself and, a
Right.
terrible mother at 18 or whatever. But this is the opportunity we give our kids when we hold space for them to be able to go through that hard thing. And that's why it's so hard for parents. I say this to my clients all the time. It is so hard for you because it is hard to watch them, but you are holding the space that they will choose themselves, that they will
Right.
that they will do the thing that will bring them up out of it. It's the fear of them not potentially choosing themselves and doing the right thing that scares the poop out of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That actually,
Absolutely.
one of the questions that I was going to ask, just to kind of share my personal story. I'm the parent of two children, both boys. My oldest actually passed away in 2020, and he had a alcohol addiction as well, and ended up dying by suicide. Um, it affects my parenting of my other child.
Of
My other
course.
child has his own issues and is a little, little bit affiliate to launch, but has some mental health issues, some other, anxiety and things. And I guess my question is, that's my personal story, but addiction, depression, suicidal ideation, how do you feel that impacts parenting?
Oh, a huge amount.
Mhm.
Like a huge amount, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think all of that emotion that's unprocessed or, continues in the head, just can prolong. Like we can't control our kids, whether they're depressed or drunk or
Right.
high or whatever. Like, but what we do control is how we're showing up in that relationship. We have to set boundaries for ourselves. If and this goes back to what I just said a minute ago, I could not, I could not willingly do anything for Nick or give him anything that was going to inadvertently or directly contribute to his self-harm. And that meant I did not give him a place to live.
Right.
Like we didn't, you know, he was homeless for a while and he figured it out. But I wasn't going to bring him into our house and have the other kids exposed to the kind of up and down that he was going through.
Mhm.
And that, again, was very difficult. But how I think it affects parents, I think it affects their confidence level.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
I had to say there's the biggest problem that I see in parenting of
Mhm.
our generation of parents is a lack of confidence. And a lot of it is attributed to mental health issues, not being comfortable around mental health issues, not knowing what
Mhm.
to say, what to do. Um, so these things all affect. And so again, having somebody, whether it's a therapist or a coach or a trusted friend, a pastor, whatever it is, that you can come and really talk through your feelings, your emotions, the situation that's going on in your home so that you can, not so much that I don't want to be the person that gives the answers. Quite frankly, I work in very emotional situations where, Julie, I mean, my heart,
Yes.
I, I never, as an impartial, not emotionally attached party listening to a situation wherein there has been attempts or, there's been some self-harm, thoughts of it or whatever in the past, we want to honor and respect that while also remembering that how a parent shows up is incredibly important. I mean, they need us to be leaders at times,
Mhm.
especially if they're in crisis.
Right.
But that doesn't look like control. That looks like,
Right.
I love you. I
Mhm.
believe in you. There's so much here for you. These are the talents that I see in you. And I am going to be incredibly strong and hold space that you will be able to choose yourself in this situation.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
sometimes we know that doesn't happen.
My question is, where the Gen X parents have faced different challenges. Do you find that Gen X parents have faced different challenges from previous generations? Like,
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm watching a video that I did a couple weeks ago, just continue to escalate and have comments on, and it's very much, not only is there a difference in Gen X parenting from previous generations, there's, to me, two types of Gen X parents. And they're within the context of my videos, they're constantly fighting with each other. The
Right.
ones that are, throw their ass out,
Right.
just right. That whole mentality, which is, I don't hear you, I don't see you, your feelings don't matter. It's my way or the highway.
Yep.
Suck it up, buttercup, all of those things, right? And that's what we had. A large majority of us grew up with some level of that, and our parents grew up that way. This is called the dominant parenting paradigm. This is what we had for generations. We now know so much more than we did about brain development, emotional development, and how parents regulate their kids' emotions. Kids
Absolutely.
cannot regulate their emotions as small, right? So the parent is the emotional regulation. And when they're dysregulated, when they're out of control, when they're yelling, it does nothing but cause chaos with the young person as well. Our children feel our energy, whether they're 2 or 12 or 22 years old. So we need to know, we need to pay attention to that. And I don't remember what your original question was, but yes, I see the huge difference.
Yeah.
I think that what happened was some Gen X parents, and I always when I generalize, people want to persecute me. So I'm generalize here. Let me just say up front, not everybody, some Gen X parents, because they weren't heard growing up, because they weren't validated or honored or seen, and they were dominated over, they went too far when they had kids. They went the other end, and everything's about the kids' emotions, and we know that kids need somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
And it looks different for every family, but kids need to be heard and seen for who they are, while also having parents that lead and set appropriate, healthy boundaries. But a parent can't do that if they're still grieving or hurting from their own childhood wounds.
Right.
I did a lot of my book. My book is a look at 6 beliefs I had about myself that I took on in childhood that were as a result of experiences with mainly my parents and or people close in my life, and how that affected both my parenting and my marriage for many years before I decided to live from different beliefs. So, I did the rigorous self look back and, really, and every time I show up in a video, every time I do an interview, every time I am really validating that what I have to say matters, rather than for the years that I lived not speaking my truth because I didn't think anyone cared or anyone would hear me anyway.
Right.
And I think a lot of women can identify with that particular belief that I was holding on to.
I think we all.
Yeah, I think what happened, with when we talk about generalizing Gen X, you're right. We come from 2 totally different spaces where, you know what, it was, you did your own thing. We were all had to figure out how to get everywhere that we needed to get. You figure it out. Both of the parents had to work. You came home, there were a lot of latchkey kids, and we figured it out. So then some of us took that on when we had children to, hey, I did it at my age. Why aren't you doing it? Or oh, hey, I did this at my age and I hated it. I'm going to do absolutely everything for you to make things happier and make things easier. And we still brought that role of, the mother and the woman, that we still had to have to do absolutely everything. And when that kind of, I think, made us a little, I don't want to say angry, but a little frustrated, because we're like, okay, we're still doing the same things and we knew it was wrong. We knew that we had to move ahead. Why are we still continuing to do this and trying to make those changes for our children? Which is very frustrating for us. And we're trying to learn about ourselves and grow. And here we are trying to raise kids. It's a very difficult situation for sure. So, when there's someone like you that we can talk to and, beat our ideas off of and stuff. I mean, that's just, absolutely amazing. I wish you were around 20 years ago and doing this.
Well, I was going through, I mean, wasn't 20 years ago, but it was a good long time ago that I was myself trying to figure this out on my own. And again, didn't anticipate that, what I was going through in 2008 in 2024, that I would be doing what I'm doing now. And, I just, there's such a priceless, reward for whether it's doing a video and getting a lot of views on it and a lot of people saying, thank you, I needed to hear, this is exactly what I needed to hear you say today, which is so strange because I don't think ahead on I just like, it just comes out of my mouth. Like I'm always looking for content. So any of you who have ideas on that, or if it's, someone that I've coached that like this past weekend, it was a huge, very messy room with an emerging adult living at home and parents setting down this is the date, this is it. And if you don't do this, we are going to go in and do it for you because we need to make sure that there's nothing growing in that room. That's how bad it was. And coming to the call today and finding out that in the end, their emerging adult was willing and did participate in the process of that. So, they can rise to the occasion. And I truly believe that when mom and dad don't come from a place of control, but rather from I believe in you, I am no longer willing to participate in this with you, that changes can be made. Positive changes can be made.
I like that.
It's not about control though. It's about, parents, I always say this, parents are in the driver's seat more than they think, but it has nothing to do with trying to control their kid. It has everything to do with how they're showing up and who they're being in the situation. When you are a parent who is caring too much at times about how your kid feels about you and whether or not they're going to be unhappy, it's a problem.
Right.
Yep. Yeah,
and we do have this cancel culture. Let me just say, we do have
we do.
So true.
We do have that, but we don't want that. And it's a real thing. We don't want our
kids to be mad at us and then, turn around and say, oh, well, I had to go to therapy because my parents were assholes and, they were all over me. And it's like, no, I don't want to be that parent that is such a jerk that, I mean, therapy is great for everyone. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the best thing, but I don't want to be the cause of that for my kid either, but what do you do?
Yeah. And part of me sees that too, because I have a very low contact, to use a not trendy term, but a low contact relationship with my dad. And the reason that I have chosen that is in part because it doesn't matter how I express myself. He just doesn't have the ability to A, self-reflect, or B, hear me. He cannot appreciate or understand my perspective. The thing that bothers, and it's one thing if a parent is like that, then I think there can be a healthy distancing, right?
Yep.
But most of the parents I talk to are honest to God willing to listen to the criticism and hold space for it and want to do better. And then their young person, despite that, still cuts them off. That's the issue. That's the challenge that I see there is like, if you're a parent who's willing to listen and self-reflect and do an honest inventory, and maybe you don't agree with everything, and maybe all that isn't necessarily true, but you can at least validate and work towards rebuilding the relationship. That's one thing. But when you've got a young person who's just like, nope, you're done, I'm done. Like, the parent is unmotivated or unwilling, or the young person is unwilling to, continue to try and work on the relationship. They'd rather just cut the parent off. Of course, it's very painful to the parent.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't even imagine. So we know that, one of your recent blog posts, you discuss social pressures. And we also kind of put a poll out there where we talked about to our podcast listeners about social media and how this affects our kids. I'm so happy that we didn't have social media when we were younger, because especially with like the bullying, you could get away from it. If it was at school, you were able to come home and that was your safe space. But now, you know, it's really
Everything's
difficult.
online.
It's everywhere. It's in their face all the time. So do you see that this has made a huge impact on the kids now in this generation, that, that like their personal happiness is being impeded upon? Or do you have anything that you'd like to say about that?
Yes, well, there's a lot to think about. It's like a big topic, right? To me, what I have seen is social media is a bigger issue for females than males. They tend to like not buy in as much. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think that females are more prone to comparison and looking
Sure.
and feeling left out and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yep.
Males have been drawn into gaming addiction, right? Like for the
Right.
most part.
Yes.
And that there aren't females that you're right, it can go either way. But I would
Ways.
say
Yep.
by and large, it is a male way to suck into like just being sucked into escaping, right?
And it is
And
their social network too, in a lot of
yeah,
cases.
That's
absolutely. It
true.
is.
That's
Right.
their
It
social
is.
network.
I talk to parents all the time whose, sons don't leave the house, but they have friends online. And I'm
Mhm.
not
Right.
saying that, I've met a lot of great people online myself, right? But
Hmm.
that's not, at the end of the day, I sometimes walk around my block myself and I'm like, I've talked to people all day long, and yet I feel alone in some respects because like I do live a pretty quiet life. So it's just kind of strange. But yes, I think this has deeply affected young people. I think there are a number of other issues. But we didn't grow up with
No.
school shootings and drills at school, and you can't tell me, no matter how much fun you make the drill, that this doesn't have an effect on the psyche of young people.
Oh,
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yep.
And I
Oh,
think we
absolutely.
minimize that. I was walking past a playground the other day, and there was a gentleman. It's in an elementary school. Kids were out in the morning for recess. There were two gentlemen that had things on their back, like a crossing guard thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. On the back said guardian. They had guns.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
they're circling the perimeter of the playground, and these kids are all playing, but you can't
So
tell me
scary.
that doesn't, affect.
right.
Yeah, rather than giving them comfort, it's a constant reminder that they're potentially in danger.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's always going to be in the back of their mind. Right. Even if they look like they're having fun, they have that little bit of anxiety that they
Yeah.
shouldn't need to have at that age. Yeah.
We had
I
an active shooter drill at work and it gave me anxiety. I knew it was coming for a week.
Mhm.
And I'm 55. What is a 6-year-old feeling when they have to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
in school when I was young, the fire drills made me nervous. Now these kids have to deal with active shooter drills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think like there are things, yes, social media and screen time in general. I think we knew, like my oldest son was in his 20s before he had, a smartphone. And
Yeah.
my youngest daughter, I got her one that she was the last kid to get it in her friend group and she was in 6th grade. Were
Yeah.
I to do this, so first of all, I'm really glad that I'm done with that part of my life. As much as I enjoyed it, I'm really glad I'm not in that. I hope that the parents behind us, the millennial, the Gen Z parents, will very much learn from our ignorance because we just didn't have the
We didn't,
information.
yeah,
Right.
we
We
didn't
didn't.
know.
Right.
Right.
And B, we now know. Like we now know.
Mhm.
Like this like there's no shortage of research on how screen time is affecting not only social life but
Mhm.
rewiring the brain.
Right.
So I really, really hope that parents behind our generation whose kids have access to these things now daily at a much younger age will really be cognizant about how they're using it because literally it's rewiring the brain. And we have the evidence of 20 somethings at this point who've had that digital daily use, sometimes often in school and how that's affected them.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really great point. I didn't even think of the rewiring of the brain. Yes, it's scientifically proven. So, and that I think adds to a lot of the depression and the addiction and all of that. So, well,
Anxiety.
we thought we had our work cut out for us, you know? Jeez.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And we caused probably some of it ourselves, right?
We
If
did.
we
Yeah,
can't
absolutely.
go, we can only move forward. And so I hope that parents that are just starting their families now will really take note and do better in some respects than we did. I want them to be more conscious. I want them to connect emotionally with their kids while also honoring and setting very healthy boundaries that need to be set.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the key
And to
word.
follow through.
Healthy boundaries. Because
Yeah.
it can't always be, when I was growing up, I always, when I would ask why, I hated the response because I said so. And I always said I would never use that with my children. And by the sixth time they would say, well, why? Then I'd be like, because I said so. But, I would really try and give an answer to all of that. So yeah, that healthy boundary of, okay, that's it. I'm not answering anymore. Just now do what I said.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes.
So we'll definitely share your website and social media with our audience.
Yep.
Do you have how other ways can people reach out for you for support? I know you also have your website. You're on TikTok, Instagram.
There's a link on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Her page.
Instagram. Whatever I post to TikTok goes to Instagram the same day. So, so my main is TikTok, but Instagram is coming up as a very quick second for me now that I've focused on it a little bit more. So, but it is the same videos, go on one as the other. So, and I know people have their choices, right? They have their favorite things. The website has a lot of great resources, including a calendar on there to get on for a free consultation for 15 minutes with me. I have a great page now of book recommendations. I've gathered books that I have read and really, really recommend to parents for various things. There's maybe 15 books on that. There's 2 important downloads on the website. One is about setting boundaries. The other one is about conversation starters, how to start a tough conversation with your teen or emerging adult. So both of those are on there. So I would say the website is the best way to get a lot of information. TikTok or Instagram too, for those that are on social media, are the way to go. And I always appreciate when people again say that they, they follow, they, share with friends, because I want to grow. I want to reach as many parents as I can, especially since I hope that I'm doing some things that are helpful, right?
Absolutely.
You're doing a fabulous job. I know it helps me, so I think you're doing a fabulous job.
Right. And we want to thank you so much for that, because like I said before, it kind of validates what we're feeling, and you're giving us permission to be, to do the right thing, that we think, is this really the right thing? And you're telling us it is. So thank you very much.
Yeah. You guys are so welcome. It was nice to talk to all of you.
It was so great meeting you.
This is great.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You guys take care. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
great
much.
night.
All right.
Bye.
God, I love her.
I know,
I
she's
know.
awesome, right? She was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I could sit there and listen to her for hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you know what? We as parents feel guilty, right? And she's telling us with this stuff, we don't need to feel guilty. We're doing the right thing. We're helping them that way.
Right.
Whereas our parents just were like,
exactly. Do what I say. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And that's, wow. Man, this is, I know my kids are mostly out of the house, but they still come back. They're still, coming
you're
to us
always
for
going to be
dumb
parenting.
shit. So yeah, I mean, this would definitely help a lot, with a lot of different situations in our family
Absolutely.
dynamic. So yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm so excited. This was one of the best shows. I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
She's super sweet.
She
Isn't
is.
she
She's so
nice?
nice.
I mean, she's just such a real person. I mean, obviously
That's
she's
the thing.
been
She's
through
such
it.
a real
She's
person.
so
Yeah.
honest about her personal experience and everything.
Yes.
Did you see the story? I've seen this a couple of times of the 19-year-old who was doing a Zoom interview and his mother got in front of the camera and started talking about her son.
No.
I'm not that bad.
Can you imagine?
No.
No.
I
No.
mean, you got to be more self-aware than that. Come on.
But I think that Gen X parents we have different challenges. Our parents did nothing for us. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We just did because they
Nothing.
did their own shit.
Yeah.
So I think we more than made up for that and decided, okay, I'm going to help my kid do everything because I needed the help and I didn't get that. So now I'm going to do, and I think we went overboard with that.
Right.
Where I live, we don't have public transportation to get people anywhere.
Right.
So you understand when your parent drops you off, if you're like 15 or 16, it just,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But for them to come inside, well, I think that was our best show ever. I hope you all enjoyed that, BFFers. And please remember, it is so much better to have a friend with two chins than
two faces. And I must say, I'm so proud of this podcast. This was one of my favorite episodes.
I agree.
Favorite.
I agree.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Julie. And Noelle. I mean,
Yes.
I really love this one.
Good. Makes us proud. Woo! All right. So we will touch base with you guys next week. We hope you have an awesome week and we'll have some fun stuff coming up. No clue what that will be, but we'll figure it out. All right. Have a good one.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Love
Love you.
Bye.
You've been listening to Life's Journey with Best Friends. For details on any of the things we've mentioned in the podcast, including photos, visit our website lifesjourneybff.com. You can also email us at lifesjourneybff@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads.
Remember, no matter where life takes you, you are never alone when you have a best friend by your side. Until next time.